welcome to Meet Your Toastmaster broadcast. I am Toastmaster Neumal from Child and Corner Toastmasters Club. So today I have a very special guest with me. He is Toastmaster Dumindu Fernando from Panadura Toastmasters Club. He is a renowned guitarist in our Toastmaster fraternity. Hello, good afternoon, Dumindu. How are you?
Good afternoon, Nemal. I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good as well.
Now, what are you doing these days?
These days, actually, I'm working from home due to the pandemic. So apart from that, when I have free time, I do some guitar covers, and I think you are a fan.
Yeah. Actually, indeed, I am a great fan of you. So, as per my understanding, you have been playing guitar for a long time. So, could you please explain to the audience how long have you been playing guitar and what made you to choose guitar?
Yes, Nemal. I have not been playing it for a long time, just 4 years. I started in 2017. And it's a interesting story, if I may say so, because actually I would consider myself as a violinist more than a guitarist, because violin was the first instrument that I was sort of conversant in. But I was part of the university orchestra as a violinist. I went to University of Moratuwa. So we had a classical music society there. So I was part of the orchestra as a violinist. And something unique about this orchestra was that they were very multi-talented people. And out of the 8 violinists that we had, around 5 of them could play the guitar. So I figured if they can also play multiple instruments, maybe I can also play it. So I gave it a try. And after maybe, let's say, 3 to 4 months of really hard work and a lot of practice, I was able to sort of start playing songs on the guitar. So that's the start of journey.
Yeah, what an inspiring story. So, Dumindu, so there are a lot of aspiring guitarists, those people who would like to start playing guitar. So, what is your first tip for those people who are having the idea of starting their guitaring career?
My advice would be to start as soon as possible and keep going, because most of the time what happens is people get inspired to play the guitar, but after a while, maybe let's say 1 or 2 months, they sort of give up the idea. And one of the main things that affects this decision is it's not easy to sort of play string instruments, because your fingers start to hurt, especially if you are playing a steel string guitar. This will have a huge impact, because the more you play, your fingers will sort of even it might bleed even. So that's the point where most of the people give up on their dream of playing guitar. So my advice is that's the hardest part, and just stick with playing the guitar, and eventually it will pass. And afterwards, you will be very comfortable playing the guitar, because you will sort of get these grooves in your fingers from the cuts that you get. So afterwards, it becomes really easy and very second nature to play, and it will help you to play guitar really, really well. So my advice is to keep going.
That was a really great advice. I am pretty sure that a lot of newcomers will warmly welcome that genuine idea of yours. Really thankful you. So, Dumidu, so now we had lot of talk today. Why don't you show us something? I heard very recently that you have published your recent video in YouTube. Dear Varna Kumari, just show us what you have done on that one. Our listeners would enjoy.
Yes, sure, Newmar. So this is a fingerstyle arrangement that I made for the song Devanna Kumari, and hope you guys will like it.
Bravo, bravo. What a wonderful performance, Dumindu. So
Thank you, Nirmal.
actually, I was actually in a kind of my own fantasy listening to your wonderful heavenly music. So just tell me, who is your favorite guitar? Every player has their favorite. So who is yours?
Yeah, so the song I played it's called a fingerstyle arrangement. So one of the most famous fingerstyle guitarists in the world is called Sungha Jung. He is a Korean person, and actually there are videos in YouTube that he's playing guitar from the time maybe he's like 6 to 7 years old. He's been doing covers since that age. So he is the person actually that sort of inspired me to learn fingerstyle guitars, because he has done a lot of covers, and they are really, really beautiful. And if you do have time, please do check out his YouTube channel, because you will be mesmerized by the content that he has in his channel. So I would say he is the favorite guitarist of mine.
Great, great, great. Sangajan. Yeah, I will remember. I think people will look for him now after your recommendations. So with that, let's say now for an amateur guitarist, if he is going to pick a guitar, what sort of guitar he has to select for just for some hunch?
Yeah. So basically, there are electric guitars, acoustic guitars, and semi-acoustic guitars. So what I have here is a semi-acoustic guitar. This is actually, it can be plugged in as well, and you can play it without plugging as well. The electric guitars you will have to plug in order to play. The other ones are just acoustic guitars where you can't plug them in, but it will just give the sound from its box. So the first thing you need to decide is what sort of guitar that you want. Is it an acoustic guitar, a semi-acoustic guitar, or an electric guitar? So that's a personal choice, a personal preference. So usually electric guitars are considered much easier to play than acoustic guitars. So it might be easy for a new or a beginner to start with an electric guitar. But personally, I prefer the sound of an acoustic guitar. So that's why I chose this one. Once you made that choice, from acoustic guitars, there are two types that you can select. One is this steel string guitars, the one that I'm having here now. And there is a type called classical guitars as well. So those guitars, they have a nylon core and a nylon set of strings. So the sound is sort of different. It's sort of more mellow. It's also a personal preference, like whether you want to get a steel string guitar or a classical guitar. It should be a personal choice. But when it comes to playability, sometimes classical guitars or nylon string guitars might be easier for a beginner to sort of start playing with, because as I mentioned earlier, you get these cuts in your fingers when you play the steel string guitars. It's sort of reduced when you are playing a classical or nylon string guitar, because those nylon strings are not as hard as the steel strings, and they are much more thicker. So you will not get the cuts that you will get when you are starting out on a classical guitar compared to a steel string guitar. So that's a personal choice mainly that you need to make according to your preference.
That's an extremely instructive guide, Toastmaster Dumindu. That is really helpful. I am pretty sure for the people who are actually wondering which guitar to buy as their first-hand instrument. So now tell me, let's say now you have a guitar, now you have some idea. Are there any recommended finger practices or techniques they can follow as beginners for a first exercise? Something,
Yes, Neil.
some technique where would you like to shed some light?
Yes. So here I will run into some sort of difficulty in answering your question, because I'm a self-taught guitarist, so I have not gone into a guitar class or studied in a very, let's say, a formal manner. But the basics are like this. So in order to explain, I will have to sort of tell the different purposes of having a guitar. So one thing is, you can, when you have an acoustic guitar like this, you can play rhythm guitar on it. Rhythm guitar means you just sort of have the chords and you strum it. Let's say, for example, I'm holding the G chord. You can hold the chord and strum. And while you're strumming, you can sing. So for a song, there is a chord part and a melody part. So in this case, the chord part is supplied by the guitar and the strumming. And the melody part is supplied by the vocals that you provide. So that's one aspect, the rhythm guitars. The other aspect is lead guitar, where you would have seen like people are playing lead parts like in songs where they have the lead parts. They just play usually like single notes like this. So that is called lead guitar, and those are the two main aspects of guitar. And in order to play rhythm guitar, you need to master the chords that we have. So there are like numerous amount of chords, but when you take the basic chords, major chords and minor chords, there are like maybe 14 chord shapes that you would need to study. So when I say 14 chord shapes, a newcomer might get sort of intimidated. Okay, how am I going to do that? So what you can do is you can start with just one chord. One of the easiest chords to hold is the A chord. So you can hold this particular chord and you can strum to a particular beat. You can get the beat from your from let's say a metronome or something like that, and you can just do down strums like this by holding just one chord. So that is one of the first things I did, like holding down a chord and strumming. So afterwards, you will learn the other chords as well. So there are chords like D, G, A, and there is a technique called the three chords pattern. Usually in a, let's say 80% of the songs, this pattern can be observed, where usually you can play that song not in the most correct manner, but you can play it with three chords. So the chords that go with D major scale is D chord, G chord, and the A chord. So if you are starting to learn, that is something that you can start with, the D major chord set. So you can practice by switching between the chords like D, G, and A. So you start with playing D and learn how to switch to A, switch to G, and likewise. So this is not a single day process or a single week process that I'm explaining. This is just a way that you can practice over a long time, let's say for months even. You can just select a particular chord and strum and try to change to other chords from this particular chord as well. So that's the thing that I did, and what helped me to get really good at it is because I started playing songs that I really like. For example, songs of Clarence Wijewardena are really easy to play on the guitar, and they are quite simple when you consider the chord arrangement as well. So playing a song that I liked, it gave me the enjoyment and the motivation to keep going and keep practicing. So that's what I did, and hope that will help any new comer to guitar as well.
So that was a really good explanation. I believe that it is clear to everyone, those who are at the audience right now. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. That the practice, the guide for the practice and the techniques and the types. I am pretty sure that is really helpful for everyone. So, Dumindus, thank you very much for joining with us today and sharing some of your valuable knowledge with our audience. So, I wish you all the best. Thank you for joining with me, your Toastmaster podcast. I hope you wish all the best and would like to see you again in a near future for another podcast. Thank you. Have a nice day, Dumindus. Bye.
Thanks a lot, Nima. Bye.